Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Players Are Loud. Super cool episode today because I've got my brother from another mother, Mike Whittaker, with me. And yay! So Team Nashville, right? Mike and I, man, we go way back in our working relationship and in our friendship. We're both transplants, basically, from out of town to Nashville. I came from Atlanta. Mike came from LA. And we met each other relatively soon within the time that we both moved here. I think within a year of each other, if I remember correctly. But Mike is he's the quintessential virtuosic musician, composer. A lot of you know him from his keyboard playing. He's got solo records out of his own that are just great players, incredible musicians, and incredible compositions. He's got a robust film scoring career history. He's done all sorts of things related to media in different contexts, not just performance oriented and not just music writing oriented. He's been an MD before on television shows. His resume is pretty sick. So, Mike, thanks so much for being here, man. It's always obviously good to see you, and I appreciate you being on the program.
Thanks, man. Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here, and good to see you, man. Definitely miss jamming and playing and all that good stuff. So when you're like, hey, do you have any time to yeah, I've got nothing but time.
We didn't have much trouble booking this interview.
Yeah, exactly. Let me see.
Yeah, our respective calendars are filled with woe. Actually, no, that's actually not completely true. I mean, both of us have had the blessing of some things come in, but yeah, times are different, and there certainly is more flexibility within the schedule. I gotta say, looking at your screen, I have to congratulate you. You won the home studio wars. Okay, you won.
Yeah, thanks.
Your Velvet Cinema, right?
Yeah.
Well, we've tracked so many incredible pieces of music. We've videoed so many incredible things. Man, please tell us about your studio and how that came to be. Because, man, you don't have just a room studio like I do. I mean, this is a legit studio. Tell us about that.
Well, thanks, man. Well, I mean, I would have to back up, I guess, to LA. Like you said, we moved here similar times. We had similar interests in jazz and fusion. There's like three of us out here that like that. So that was definitely a good connect. But when I first moved here in LA, I decided to get out of there. And it was just getting so crazy, so crowded, and traffic was insane. So moving here from LA, I did pretty well in real estate there, to where, if you move from LA prices to Nashville prices, you can get a pretty amazing place. So that was really cool. And so originally my studio, if you remember, was upstairs in a bonus room over the garage, and it was really nice.
Yeah, that studio was nice too.
And this all used to be a gym. This used to be like, my wife say a personal trainer. So we had a legit gym down here. Not that I use it, or used it, but it was down here. And then she got a gig working for another company to where she wasn't really using it. And I was like, man, that sure is a nice space in the basement. And so she let me graciously take over down here. And so you're familiar with the studio Muscle Shoals, real iconic studio in Alabama. So the guy who designed Muscle Shoals also designed my studio.
I didn't realize that was the same guy. That was completely lost in translation when we were first talking about that. That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, his name is Don Warner. Super cool dude. Real just old school about everything. So Anyway, this whole basement, I think the basement is probably like 2,000 square feet down here. So it was a lot of room to work with, and I wanted a tracking room, and I wanted a lot of space for people to hang. And so anyway, he designed it pretty much from the ground up. And so it's been a really cool space. I mean, it's been nice to just come downstairs and have this working environment. And I'm really blessed to have all this stuff, you know. It's just been good to be able to, you know, over the years, just be able to get all this technology and stuff. And so anyway, like behind me, you can see that the wall behind me is actually made of a fabric. And then behind it, there are hanging pendulums of bass traps.
Oh,
that
wow.
go for about 2 feet deep, like that. And they
Wow.
just swing. There's only about an inch space, air gap between the pendulums. And the walls are splayed just at certain angles. I don't know.
Wow.
But anyway,
That's way above my pay grade, but
yeah,
very,
it was
very
above mine
fascinating.
too. But and then just the color scheme, you know, I think you know, I'm a huge fan of Hans Zimmer, and if you've ever seen Hans's studio, it is like, it makes my studio look lame. Definitely Google Hans Zimmer's
Okay.
studio. It will blow your mind.
Wow.
So anyway, mine is kind of like a mini version of his, but
Yeah.
again, it's really cool. It's a cool space to work. And although I'm down here constantly, and you get a little, with COVID and everything, I really just want to get out and
Yeah.
play out, or do a session at another studio or whatever. But it's been, you know,
when you put
working here.
You know, when you put the COVID part of it aside and just kind of get back to the essence of the studio, there really is something powerful about being able to go to work, you know, like per se, like it's like when you go downstairs, it's like you've gotten in your car, driven to a studio, there you are in your workspace, you know, you're separate from distractions. Even in my smaller setup here, it's the same way. I'm just separated by some doors, but this is where I get up and go to work. And it's kind of understood that, you know, this is a sacred space for that. But I mean,
and you've got a really nice space.
Thanks, man.
Nice stuff.
But man, when you are sharing, I used to rent a studio space before we moved to our current house, and I'm sure you'd been there before. It was Music Dojo Nashville is what I called it. And that's what I was doing. I was living in the same, you know, town in Franklin where this studio was. And I would get in the car each morning and I'd go to work. When we moved here, it just really, you know, the economics of it didn't really make sense to pay this studio rent when we had a close to amount of space for me to put my stuff in here. It was a little bit, you know, of a getting used to it curve, but I'm still, you know, like you, I'm so appreciative to actually have a space to work. Not everybody has that.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, you just start somewhere. Like, for people that are out there, like, you don't need all this stuff to make great music. I have friends that have, you know, a laptop and they work in their living room. And I mean, that's, at the end of the day, all this stuff that I have, it's definitely nice to have, but you know, the results are not from all the gear. You know, I find, and tell me if you agree, is that, you know, the first $200 you spend makes this like 90% difference in the sound. You know, if you like buy a mic preamp that's, you know, that goes from a little mixer mic preamp to a dedicated one, like an ART or some low budget, you know, like one that's like built into your interface or something. Like going that distance and that price makes a huge difference in the sound.
Yeah.
But when you jump, so the next step seems to be like $3,000, and you get that extra 10% of sound difference,
Yeah.
which after you mix it and do all that, it's debatable about how much difference it is,
I so appreciate you sharing that. And as an owner of a studio, it's kind of a brave statement to make. And you and I have talked about this many times before. There's almost like I want to say this diplomatically, like there's almost like a chic mystery to the expensive studio gear that draws everybody towards it, right? But when it comes down to, and both of us have done this, both you and I have actually sat down and we've A-B'd stuff, expensive, midline, even consumer line in some cases.
Yeah.
And when you're A-B'ing those, you may be able to tell a difference, but in the context of placement in a track, it may be debatable whether or not you're going to hear that difference. And I remember one time I was testing these two bass amplifiers, and I won't mention what they are, but one was the new and improved version of the old, and I was asked to compare them. How do they differ? And I think there was an expectation that the new version of the amp was going to have all this, so much more character. And what I did was I kind of listened. I spent a lot of time. I took a tone control knob from the old version. I moved it a little bit, and then they sounded identical to everybody in the room, and I'm not at all, don't get me wrong, I'm not downplaying sonic advances, technological advances. Absolutely, you're getting something when you invest that much money in gear. But to your point, you don't have to spend a lot of money to get a good sound.
Yeah, absolutely. Things for me that are irreplaceable, that are expensive, would be like, I have a real B3, or I have a real Rhodes and a real Whirly, like a real vintage instrument, or recording real drums. Like Keith Carlock's drum set is set up and mic'd up all the time in here, right? So,
gee, that's a nice feature.
It's a nice feature, yeah. So those things, I mean, at that point, that's like a real, it's like your bass, you have a lot of different basses for different sounds. That's going to make a huge difference in the sound, what instrument you choose, but even the virtual instruments are they're getting better and better. And in the context of a track, it's not always noticeable, for sure.
Do you ever find that the virtual version of something, you may not even want to answer this, but have you ever had experience where the virtual version of
I'll say yes already.
Legendary thing sounded better?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I have a beautiful grand piano in my studio, and it's not always right for everything, Sometimes I'll have if I'm doing a pop track, like that's a modern pop thing or Coldplay kind of vibe, or, like the vibe is more of a compressed upright kind of sound, so it's not the right vibe, so that's why we have tools for everything. So, and it's the same with computers, that probably irks me more than anything is the Mac PC debate.
Yeah.
It comes, at the end of the day, somebody's going to send you an MP3. I'm handing something like it's a physical thing. Like I'm remembering those days when we did that. But it's like, at the end of the day, nobody knows what you recorded with. Nobody knows if you were on a Mac or PC. I've been PC now for 3 years. My laptop's a Mac, but I was Mac my whole life.
Yeah.
And, at the end of the day, they're very similar, and maybe the software you use is on Mac or PC, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's what's between your ears and in your heart that makes great music, not the technology.
Yeah. There used to be a time when the whole Mac versus PC thing was legitimately, you had limitations based on which platform you're working on, because
Yeah, absolutely.
back in the day, it was like the majority of the arts-centered applications, or the creative-centered applications, the ones that were industry standard, were Mac only. And then obviously over time that has changed. The install base of PCs worldwide is still massively more huge than the install base of Macs.
Yeah.
And so it totally
just not in music,
Right.
music definitely, there's more Mac.
Right.
In my world though, and this is good for people, like, why would you want a PC versus a Mac? It's, here's the thing, I probably have $100,000 worth of sample libraries in my computers. And the way, unfortunately, that the Mac, the way they've gone is, and it has been less of late, but they were changing the operating system, every 9 months, it seemed like. And what would happen with software developers is that their products wouldn't work on the new operating system. And so you'd want the latest and greatest, which would need the new OS. If you bought that, you'd have to upgrade. And guess what? Your old stuff didn't work.
Right.
So you have a project that was from 6 months ago in the film and TV world, and you're in some real trouble, because you can't access those sounds, let alone the process of upgrading. So with a PC, or using a PC as a virtual instrument through Vienna Ensemble Pro, you can run your plugins, your virtual instruments, and sample libraries on a PC, which it just doesn't have those issues. Like, it's just going to work like when they change stuff up,
Yeah.
So, I mean, as of now.
Right. Yeah. I just went through that whole thing myself with an OS upgrade, which we won't talk about that.
Yeah. I've wanted to throw every kind of computer out the window and drive back over it. So
yeah, it seems there's no truly perfect solution out there.
There's not, no,
at least that I've experienced.
Yeah.
So man, we've got a long history of working together, playing on each other's projects, playing in each other's bands, and all that other stuff. You obviously are one of the players on my latest record, The World Is Loud. You played on a song called Without Love, and it's such a cool feature piece for you because of you've got a B3 solo in it, and it's such an incredible solo. Can you just talk a little bit about playing on that song? Because I know coming like stylistically, it was definitely something different. Not that you've had experience in all these genres, but
yeah,
us working together, that was different, right? Doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that track, and I've listened to your record. Sounds really great, man.
Oh, thank you, man. Thanks.
It was cool to hear you singing too.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but that track in particular, if everybody doesn't know it already, Adam Nitti writes really hard music. It's insane. Like, you're like, okay, wow.
That is easily one of the most difficult tunes on the record, which is probably why I asked you to play on it, because I knew you could handle it.
Yeah, dude. It's hard, but it was blazingly smoking awesome.
Thanks.
So, but yeah, as far as like soloing over that, I think it was in Odd Time Signature.
Yes.
So that was tough to wrap my head around, feeling that. And I think because I didn't totally wrap my head around feeling it, it was like my normal thing would be to play some virtuosic thing, and maybe there's a little bit in there, but that I just wanted to explore all the drawbars and stuff with the rock thing, like just hold it and change and mutate the sound. And that was kind of, I thought, cooler than maybe playing a ton of notes.
Man, I could not have imagined a part more perfect. And it's a nice, the anyone who hasn't heard it before, I hope you will, take a listen. But the way you introduce that solo in particular, it's perfect because there's so much like frenetic energy going on with the tune. Right. Goes into this breakdown, and it just bears down into nothing but rhythm section and your B3, and exactly what you're talking about. That whole like modulation of the sound and tone, it really draws you in, and you got your burning moments in there, man. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But what I love about what you played is that maybe this was a result of you not, getting super analytical. Let me match this up, but allowing it to, like you do, you are a truly improvisational player. The way that your phrases lay on top of the time signature cycles was so natural. It was really, really cool. And
good accidents.
Every time I listen to it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so great. I think you gave me 2 solos to pick from. Mm-hmm. And this one, they were both amazing, but this one, because of the way you started it, just I fell in love with it.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked that one. It's cool.
That's so awesome, man. Are you are you when you sort of think about yourself in your voice as a keyboard player, do you have more of a fondness for like the Rhodes and the B3, the more traditional organic instruments, or the newer sounds and tech, or do you just like everything equal? Is there anything you kind of lean toward?
Yeah, I mean, in its purest form, I enjoy probably just playing a real piano, because like sitting at an actual instrument, a good piano, not a lame piano, but a really a good instrument, it definitely inspires you. And the piano is so expressive, and it's, inspires you to play amazing things. But as a whole, I think as a film composer and producer, when I was a staff composer for Fox Television for 6 years, and I did all kinds of music. I did the Power Rangers, I did the Addams Family, I did the Ninja Turtles, and
so awesome.
But then like back, that was in the 90s, and they would be like, hey, can you do a knockoff of U2 1 week, because we can't afford to license the real song? Can you do a knockoff of, the Backstreet Boys or something like that? So it would be like all these genres I would have to do knockoffs for. So before that, I would say I was pretty much a jazz snob in a lot of my music. And so being a composer and having to get thrown into having to recreate sonically all kinds of genres, you start to discover, hey man, this is there's some really not so easy to do things about everything. So like, what makes rock, or what makes radio pop? I hear so many people bag on radio pop music, and I definitely, am in that category sometimes. But you go out and you try and make that pop hit or that pop track. It's not as easy as you think, because if you could do it, you would have done it and made a ton of money on it, right?
Yeah.
So I had definitely a more a less snobbish attitude regarding music, and it's kind of opened my my playing in a lot of ways too. So getting to play on your record, which is just a killing rock thing. I mean, my dream is not to play in some jazz band, in a small club in Europe. It's like, my dream is to play in some insane rock band that's like in front of a sea of people at some festival.
I'm with you, man.
You know what I mean?
I'm totally with you. Yeah.
and wear some crazy clothes that they, design for you or whatever. It's like surreal. But
what you said is, it's so interesting, because there is this sort of there is this common misconception that, well, if you can play jazz, you can play anything. The idea being that because of the sophistication of jazz music and your understanding of harmony and execution of improvisation, over that, like, that just means you can do these other genres because they're quote unquote easier to play. And that's really not the case. Each genre, there's a legitimacy to it that requires immersion into it to really understand what makes it tick, right?
100%. I think people ask me, like, I teach film scoring. I mean, this might be a good segue to promote something, is that, my film, have been developing over the last year and a half an online film scoring program and music production thing.
Super exciting.
And that should be released hopefully in this next month or so. But what I tell people is, look, if you can't like that music, then you have no business producing it. So, we're all, as musicians, going to play on songs we don't like. We're going to go to sessions that you're like, wow, okay, where the song's not good. But as a producer, you have to find what other people like about this music. Every genre has a huge following, right? And so there's something that connects people on an emotional level with different styles of music, whether it be country, it be pop, jazz, funk. So if you want to play that music well, you have to live in that music, and you have to find what's beautiful about that music. And if you can't find that, I don't think you're going to play it well.
It's so great. Yeah. That's really, really important. Yeah. You made a reference to producing that kind of music, and you're exactly right. I mean, I was coming at it from the angle of our perception of being able to play it. But like you said, to actually take the producer's role, this more objective, from the outside, crafting that within the genre in a legitimate way. How are you going to do it if you don't know what makes that music tick? If you don't know how it connects? It's super, super great point that you just made about that, for sure.
Yeah.
The film scoring program that you're going to be offering, what's kind of the end goal? Like, so somebody who's signing up for that, and I don't know if it's going to have tiers to it or whatever, but what can someone who signs up, what can they hope to achieve by the end of going through your program?
Well, the film scoring program is really geared for somebody who has a music background, who wants to start making money in film and television, whether you want to be a full-on composer or you just want to create stuff for TV commercials, for promos, you want to create stuff for music libraries, learning how to make passive income through, on the business side, in film and TV. I've had a lot of my students go on to score movies and get work in libraries and promos. And from a practical standpoint, what it is I break down throughout the weeks of the program and throughout the lessons. It's going to be go at your own pace. But we've actually interviewed the entire orchestra. You will get a breakdown of every instrument of the orchestra, its uses, its ranges, its colors, how it can be used in an emotional sense.
Oh, that's amazing.
The psychology of every instrument, how it's used in film and TV. And then from the orchestra, we move into technology, sample libraries, how to create strings and orchestral mock-ups that sound real. All the technical aspects of syncing up video to your music program and all the lingo in the film and TV business. We demystify all that. And then we go from there. I've actually paid a director to shoot a bunch of scenes. So you will actually be scoring scenes with your own setup, even if you don't have a great setup yet. It's okay. The point is you're going to be learning how to deal with picture. You're going to be learning how to write music that fits different scenes, different styles, you know. So we'll have an action thing, and then we'll have a romantic comedy, and then you'll have something that's suspense, and then you'll have something that's like an animated thing. So you're going to get a broad experience of writing, actually doing it, which is different than a lot of, like, you know, I won't say anything bad about Masterclass, but a lot of these are people talking about their career in it.
Yeah.
As opposed to you doing it.
Yeah.
And
wow.
So
that's great.
this is going to be probably the biggest online film scoring thing you can do outside of signing up for, you know, Berkeley or, you know, a major university. And even then, I got to be honest with you, there's just so much stuff in this program that is going to be real world that you just don't get. Like you're going to get a lot of my experience and of what to do, what not to do, the business side of it, how to market yourself, how much should you charge, all this kind of stuff. Like, where do you start, how to do music for libraries, how to do sound design. Like, it's a massive undertaking, but I think if you're at all interested in that side, it's number one, it's going to be challenging and fun, and hopefully it will easily pay for itself. So it's going to be just under $400 for the program. Which,
wow, that's amazing.
If you compare that to going to Berkeley, you know, $25,000 or whatever, the $400, it's a really great investment. Okay,
wow.
Commercial's over.
That's great, and I mean, I'm already planning to sign up myself. I mean, that sounds amazing. Is there where can people kind of keep up with the progress? Do you have a mailing list for this or anything?
It's filmscoreseminar.com.
Okay. It's
going to be where it's marketed. And that's right now, but it's, you know, pre-COVID, we were doing twice a year. I was doing a live in studio here, 5 weeks of film score training every Monday night, but that has kind of gone away. And so, but this is going to be even better than that, because you're going to get to do it at your own pace, and the amount of information I give you, I'm not limited by the time. So you're going to get just a ton of info.
So great, man. Thanks for telling us about that. Really, really cool.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, you know, with the advent of all the libraries and stuff like that, I mean, is it getting harder and harder for a person to make any money composing because everybody just chooses clips from libraries? I mean, how do you kind of continue to thrive in a world where everything is like bite size and a la carte?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for composers, yeah, you definitely, the more well-rounded you are as a musician, it's usually can help you. So I'll put it like this, like, if you're really good at orchestral music like John Williams, there's like a lot of guys that can do that, right? And they do it at a super high level. And Hollywood, before COVID, was only making 60 feature films a year, right? So that's not a lot. But when you consider the market, that every single company on this planet just about has video editing, and they need music for their company, for their videos. They have TV commercials, they have radio commercials, they all need music. So when you think about the market like that, it changes your perspective from, hey, I just want to score the next, Star Wars movie. Well, we all do, right? But the truth is that a lot of my stuff is these shows, these reality shows, these promos. Like every day there's promos going on, right? For ESPN, for all these networks. They need new music. They're not, what music they had in the past. They need new stuff. They can't use the same stuff over and over and over and over. So they're always looking for new music. So if you're good at what you do, I think there's definitely a place for you to make money. You just have to be a little more creative. And, there are definitely some things that hurt us in the industry. There's some Spotify-ish versions of music libraries now that make it hard.
Yeah.
But the networks, the real networks, are still buying music. They're still licensing music. Music licensing is another thing. I do a lot of trailer music. I do a lot of trailerized pop music that would be for promos, And so if you're good, I mean, nobody's going to say if you're not good at what you do, it's not going to, you're limiting your chances. But if you're good at what you do, if you really can make solid music, I think there's definitely a lot of places where you can make money, outside of just playing and touring. And that's kind of why I got into that, right? Was in LA, I was maxed out on touring. I did a lot of cover band gigs, which I think that's another side topic, but I think being in a cover band is probably one of the most important things a musician can do.
I'm so happy to hear you say that. I agree 100%. Please explain why you say that, because I know what you're going to say, I think. But
I think, learning different styles of music, you're learning the history of music.
Yes.
Whether you're playing a Beatles tune, you're playing something from Sinatra, you're playing, the latest pop thing from, whoever's got the latest hits or whatever. Like, you're learning different styles, and you're also learning to work with other musicians, and you're learning your feel and your time. And, there's just no way of getting around being in a cover band, unless you're just a virtuoso guy, Yeah. It's like, I don't know, it's probably the best thing you can do.
Yeah. Gosh, there's so many levels to that. It's funny, when I was a young punk musician, and I was doing cover tunes, because I was kind of misguided by not having a real mentor at the time. You're a young player, you're captivated by people playing fancy and fast and all that stuff. So I'd get on my cover gigs and essentially just destroy the bass lines with overplaying and, wrong tones and all that other stuff, thinking that, oh, this is cool and flashy. And after having very humbling moments, coming up as a player, playing with people who knew much better and being corrected, sometimes gently, sometimes not gently at all. I started to finally, understand, oh, wait a second, this song's been written. It's a hit already. It's established. People love it the way it is. What is it that makes it great? Or what is it that makes it connect with people? That's a deep commitment you got to make. And so, like, if I'm doing a tribute gig this weekend, and you said it, you're learning the history of the music. This is a thing where we'll be doing LA studio musician oriented, pop tunes from the 70s and 80s. And it's just about all studio cats in the band. And the whole idea as a tribute thing is to pay an homage to it. I can't tell you how educational and how enjoyable it's been going back. And I'll get obsessed with it. I want to match the tones exactly as they are. I want to match the feel exactly as it is, because I know it makes you better. It makes you improve. So again, man, I'm so glad you brought that up, because some people poo-poo the whole cover band thing because they feel like they may be above it. And there's so much to
No,
learn.
I don't. I mean, even the guys down on Broadway, I mean, great, you know, do what you got to do. It's a good thing. I think also, and tell me what you think, when it comes to both improvising and the way we feel, like at the end of the day, I don't hire a guy because he sight reads most of the time really great, right? That could be important on a certain session, but I hire a guy based on his feel.
Mm-hmm.
And your feel is an amalgamation of all these things you've learned. Because I find that, like, if I really break it down, when I'm creating something for a song, I'm not just always reinventing things. I'm playing something subliminally that I've heard or felt. I'm a huge George Duke fan.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of my feel and playing are from George Duke, Russell Ferrante, and Bruce Hornsby. Like, those three dudes. And in jazz, you know, a lot of Chick Corea. But if you heard my playing, you would know that there's a lot of you know, that it's kind of just takes from that. And you hear those guys in my playing because I've listened to them and loved them so much, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Man, there's something I'd really like to ask you about, because I feel like your perspective on this is really valuable. You know, you kind of were, when you're talking about your film scoring program and the whole idea of making money and you know, to paraphrase, kind of work your way up the ladder in the compositional world or whatever, music making world, creating things. Something I've always admired about you since I met you is, man, your work ethic is just, it's second to none. I feel like you almost never have idle time going on. I feel like you've done an amazing job of naming every hour of the day and assigning some purpose to it. If we're honest, and speaking from my perspective, the majority of creative types are a lot of times their own worst enemy. I put myself into this category because I'm very ADHD.
What?
Oh, look, a squirrel. I think that it's unfortunate, but this is the reality. It's like there are amazing creatives, there are amazing musicians, creators of art, who unfortunately really struggle with the business side of music. Right. And they have, you know, the challenges may originate as early as what to do with what they've created, and then from there it can expand into other challenges as well. The only way I've kind of been able to survive and stay on a particular routine with the way my creative brain works is I've had to get good counseling and advice and mentorship from people who have similarly been able to overcome these certain things, these challenges in their life. But number two, realizing that routine and organization, it's the lifeblood of my progress. I live my life out of Google calendars and appointment-based, you know, routine and stuff like that. You know, every morning when I get up, I get a cup of coffee, I do my little devotion for the day, and then I'm looking at the daily calendar. I've got a master to-do list, and I'm trying to figure out where does that fit into today. That is not my innate nature. It seems to come natural for you. What do you tell musicians who you recognize as being so talented, they could do so much more, but they're really struggling in the business and organizational side? What would you tell them?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it doesn't come naturally for me either. I struggle with it all the time because part of the problem of having all these toys around me is I want to mess around with them, you know? And I would rather be doing my own music than working on the business side of things, right? So that is hard. I think accountability for me is so important. So if you want to improve your business game, a lot of times I find super creatives, they don't even, they're either okay where they are, or if they're not, they need to seek out some other people, some mentors that can help walk them through it. And I have a good friend, Steve Bliss. He's been a longtime mentor of mine. And when I was in high school, we sat down. We went to the same church. He was a worship pastor at my church, and I was all over the map as far as what I wanted to do. And so he said, I want you to write down a 30-day plan, and then a 6-month plan, a 1-year plan, and then a 5-year plan. So, and those were like goals, right? What I wanted to do. So doing that and writing it down, like taking the time to actually write it down, I found that in 5 years, I had pretty much met most of those goals. Like I was a working musician. I had my first record deal. Like I was doing really well. And a lot of that was actually writing it down. This year, last year, I mean, obviously there wasn't a ton going on, but I went back to a day planner. Where is it? It's over there. But just writing things down is really important. And the Google calendars and your phone, they're cool. Like some people are wired for like that. But me, like when I open the calendar and then I have a page for every day. So this day, I'm like, what am I going to do today? What do I want to accomplish? Because there's a difference between being busy and moving the ball down the field.
Oh,
right?
amen. That's
everybody's busy.
So great.
You know, and the people are like, oh, I'm so busy. I'm doing stuff already. Yeah, but you know, a year from now, you're going to be busy, and you're going to have not moved the ball down the field at all. You know, most likely, if you don't do something different. So some of that is, for me, is limiting all the stuff that I want to accomplish. Right. As you know, I mean, we're doing all kinds of other things, and I've got to figure out what's most important and really focus on that, or I'm not gonna get to it. Which means that some things I just have to say no to, and some things I've got to, you know, obviously, you know, my family and all that stuff is important, and that's at a priority. But as far as what I need to accomplish, that's based on my goals and where I want to see myself next year at this time, because I hope next year at this time I'm in a different spot. Yeah. And the only way I'm going to get there is if I make a plan and stick to it.
Man, thank you for that feedback. You included so many gems in what you were saying, and oh my gosh, I can so relate to the idea of being so busy and not really accomplishing much for the long game. And I don't think it's intentional, but I think we get fooled into believing that we're busier than we are, or I should say we have more primary responsibilities that are really there. And from a creative's work perspective, it's just like you said, I'm like you. I've got all these instruments around here. I've got an upright bass now that I got really serious about last year. And
how's that going?
It's going great, man. I fell in love with it, and I'm still learning, obviously. But
Yeah, that's cool.
But I did my first gig on it, my first legit gig at my church not too long ago. Got to sort of test
Nice.
myself in a performance setting. It was a huge confidence builder, and but I've got that. I've got bass guitars in here. I've got the keyboard in here. Obviously, anything software related. It's like for somebody who didn't have an agenda whatsoever, they come in, and if they love music, it's like, oh, I want to do this for a while. Oh, let me do this for a while. Let me do this. It's all fun. It's all fulfilling from an enjoyment perspective.
Yeah, and it all seems like it seems like you're doing stuff like, oh, I'm doing stuff,
Yeah.
but here's the thing is like social media and all that stuff, like it's one of those necessary evils. I rarely get gigs from social media.
Yeah.
It's like I get frustrated on social media. I get that.
Yeah.
But I don't usually get, like, I get some work off of social media, but that's not my main thing.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, who hires you? Your friends.
Yeah.
Your friends hire you, and people that have relationships with you.
Mm-hmm.
So am I taking the time to reach out to my friends, see how they're doing? Like, and it's in the film and TV world too. It's like there's a difference between somebody being a colleague and somebody being a friend. And if it's at all possible, you want to become genuine, not like, hey, what can you do for me?
Yeah.
Kind of friends, a genuine friend. And most of the time you're going to find that your work comes from genuine friends.
Yeah.
And we don't want to think that. Sometimes that's not the case. It's solely based on your talent. But those relationships, those building that network is about getting on the phone, not necessarily texting and all that stuff,
Man, and that's another thing I love about you is you'll still call me on the phone. I think I could count on one hand the number of people that I still speak on the phone with, and this is not to demean the idea of somebody texting me or whatever. Don't misunderstand, but you, like me, still appreciate the idea of a spontaneous, real-time interaction. And to your point, I like to say that career building it's a result of relationship building, putting the emphasis on the relationship building. It's like, the more legitimate, like true relationships you build, whether you are planned on it or not, I think that ultimately helps you in your career.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How many times have you called somebody and it's like, you're just talking and it's like, oh, hey man, I've got this thing coming up. Maybe, we want to do it or whatever. And that's like, that seems to be how you move things forward, as opposed to, I don't know, just, putting things out on social media, which, I do like crazy, but I do that more out of my boredom, sitting in this room 24/7 than anything else. But, truthfully it's reaching out to people, and I need to do it more too. It's,
do you think that, do you think we still have a music career just the same if we eliminated social media from our personal? I'm asking you this because I think about this all the time. It's like, what is social media really doing for me as a career thing? Because a lot of us are just poising it as a career move or a career necessity, and that's what's kept me on it. I'm trying to have real relationships with people outside of social media, and don't get it's got its blessings, and I've reconnected with people. It's been wonderful in that way, but all the work I put into social media promotion, I'm not sure that it reciprocates for me what I would expect.
Yeah, I think it would be naive to say like that you don't need social media, but I think there's a difference between like when you put out your new record, like it's, oh, Adam's got a new record, cool. That that I think can be good, and letting people know stuff. But if there's just that and no human connection outside of social media, I don't think it does a lot for you unless you're marketing a product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, here's another business tip. At the end of the day, man, your music career, you are a product or service, you know? So sometimes you have to ask those hard questions to somebody who's not your buddy, you know? It's like, I remember Danny Chambers, Pastor Danny Chambers, God bless, rest in peace, Danny.
Amen.
He was great. He always said to me, you know, Mike, go ask somebody else, who do men say that I am? You know, and that's a hard thing to hear, you know, because the perception that you have determines the reception you'll get.
Yeah.
And so, you know, sometimes like I can come across as really harsh or opinionated, or I can come across as this guy who's like intimidating because of my background or whatever, you know, and same with you. I mean, you can come across as intimidating just because you're a virtuoso on your instrument. And so sometimes like we have to overcome those things from a perception standpoint, because somebody doesn't know that Adam Nitty can kill a funk groove or kill a rock groove, or, you know, same with me. It's like, hey, Mike can do a country session, and he knows, you know, he can do a great job. So it's just like, just overcoming the perception of what you are is developing the product that you are, you know? So sometimes like, for me, it's like not just always putting out crazy jazz stuff, which I probably put out too much. I need to just put out simpler stuff, because when I'm on a session, I don't play like I play on my Facebook videos, right? But people may not be calling me because I'm putting out these crazy Facebook videos playing a bazillion notes, you know, in a virtuosic manner. I don't know.
It's a tough call. It's a tough call because there are people who that's what they want to see from you. They're so excited and inspired by it. But then at the same time, it's like, that's not the brand that you will put on the tune in the country session. Like you said, it's just,
that's right.
It's tough. I had one of these, I did a prior interview last week. It's going to be going up as well. And we talked a lot about perception and identity. And I talked a lot about when I first moved to Nashville, and people telling me, hey, man, I wouldn't share your fusion stuff with people, you know, you don't want to. And I, you know, it's funny, I abided by that guidance for a couple years, but I got to a point where I was like, something doesn't feel genuine about this. It's like, you know, I want to be proud that I can do a variety of things, and I can't, no matter what I do, I can't control people's perceptions. I might as well try to make the music wherever the music is for what the music is. And have I lost gigs before or not been called because somebody made a judgment call? Yes, many times. But what's weird is that my first session in Nashville, when I moved, I got because one of the producers was a fan of bass guitar and saw me doing silly fast stuff and was like, oh, this guy would be so cool to have on this. I mean, you know, you never know what is going to pique someone's interest in what you do. So you might as well just be yourself. And, you know, God willing, you take a path that, you know, you allow to be guided on, and you do okay. But but man.
Back to your point, I think you can not have a social media presence and do this business. I really do think so. I think it is good if you limit it, but I think for sure you can just because most of my work doesn't come from social media.
Yeah.
Back to my film and TV, or when somebody wants to produce a record, it's based on my reputation or stuff that they've heard. It's not because I posted something on, on Instagram or whatever,
Well, look at the truly busy legends out there. I think of, one of my favorites is Nathan East, from a bass playing perspective. And he's on social media, but he rarely posts, or if he's posting a lot, I'm not seeing it. I'm following him in different contexts, but does that affect his ability to pay the bills? I don't think so. He's still, like you said, he's built these relationships over decades that will sustain him, I'm sure, for the rest of his career. And I don't know. Isn't it always about balance at the end of the day, man? I mean, you just have to be careful and be a good steward of your time and your investments and make sure that.
And, I will, of course, always jump in with my spiritual side that would say, hey, man, I'm a Christian and I believe in God. And at the end of the day, I just trust that God's got a plan for my life. If I'm willing to do the work and I'm willing to work hard, I may not always make the best decisions, but, I just trust that he's going to take care of me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's honestly, that's what I'm alluding to when I'm talking about allowing your path to be influenced. I think God's the one that can kind of help you. I need to move more this way. Let me move you over here. But the most important lesson, I think, from that is unless you're trying to move forward, you can't steer. A car that's idle and not moving cannot change directions. But the minute you start to move forward, now the steering wheel works. Yeah. So, you can't just freak out and just go, I don't know what to do. I'm not going to do anything because I don't know what to do, and get overwhelmed with that. And I've done that before, but to allow yourself to trust let me try to move in this direction, but I want to be open to shaping this path because I don't know ultimately where this is going. So
the best things that have ever happened to me, in a music career and in other areas of my life, happened because of change. Not change I was expecting a lot of times. Sometimes it was change I engaged in. But had I not been open to change, had I not been open to learning, I tell my students this, I say, you want to know how to succeed in the music business, make learning your number one thing at the top of your list. And learning will have its own reward. If your goal is just about money and not about learning, your chances are you're not going to get to the money until you do some learning. There's just no way to get there. Like, money is here, and the only way to get there is learning and experience. And so you don't just jump here. So make learning super high on your list, hopefully that.
One sort of tertiary point that comes from that is one of the most humbling lessons that I've had to learn. It feels like I have to repeatedly learn it. It's along with learning, it's like, be careful also not to assume you know what you think you know. That's the best way I could think to say that. Like you've done the time, or you think you've paid your dues in this area. Right. So now, okay, I've learned this. I can move on from this. Man, life will kind of come back and go, what you thought you knew about this is actually, it's not enough, or it needs to be modified, or you need to learn more. And so I'm trying to be as careful as I can about never getting to a place where I feel like, oh yeah, I'm an authority completely on this.
Yeah, like I've arrived. Yeah.
100%. There's a spirit to that too that's off-putting for people. Whether you say something relating to that or not, people can pick up a spirit of superiority from people, or feeling of pride. They don't have to say anything, and it doesn't welcome somebody. And I want to be welcoming to people. I want them to feel like, I'm approachable and accessible and all that. Because, man, Lord knows I thought I knew some things, man. Every one of those things got shot down as.
Isn't it funny how, like, a lot of times in our life, the things that we tried so hard to get, like, I know, like, I've had some movie opportunities and tours and stuff. It's like I did everything, bought new clothes for the audition. I knew I was the right guy. The guy who got picked couldn't play as good as I played, whatever, it's like, I thought for sure, like, this was going to be it. And of course it didn't happen. And then the thing that I never expected out of nowhere, I was like, how in the world am I doing this? This is crazy, right? But that's what keeps you humble, I guess,
Man, so true. So before we finish, I just wanted to see if you're cool with this. If people want to hire you for, gosh, there's so much they could learn from you in terms of, whether film scoring, keyboard, whatever. I don't know what context you might be offering, but can people get in touch with you? What's the best way for them to get in touch with you if they want to learn more?
My email, let me post it on the screen here.
Oh, cool. That will save me the editing.
Oh, wait.
What in the world?
Wait, this is a bass joke.
Oh, gosh. Oh,
all right.
What do you call a beautiful woman on a bassist's arm? A tattoo.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Oh, another one's coming? Or is this the same one?
No, it's just scrolling, man.
Okay.
Scrolling. You like that? Let me
that is wonderful.
To my email. Does that come up? Is that showing up? All right.
Yes.
I'm going to put some.
Maybe put a space between com and witty.
There it is.
Music.
That's
Beautiful.
my email.
All right. wittymusic@gmail.com. That's the best way to get in touch with you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Anything else? You told us about the film scoring program. Super exciting news. Any other projects or any other things you're involved with you'd like to share with people that you're doing now or getting ready to do, draw attention to?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my goal this year is, of course, to do another bottom 40 record.
Awesome.
That I would love to do, or my own record. I'm producing an album right now of an artist, gospel artist named Marcus Wilson. It's going to be super funky and
awesome.
Cool, so that'll be fun. Other than that, I mean, I'm definitely searching for new playing opportunities if those exist. But from a production standpoint, I just never know. Right now, it's so up in the air. Usually with film and TV, it's like I knew that I had 2 projects a year from ESPN. I would have one from Warner. I would have, all these different things that I knew a project would come in every year. And every year that would make me my money plus all my royalties from all the TV shows I've done. Well, last year, all those disappeared. So including the TV show I was doing. So I'm definitely open to producing projects and helping people with whatever they're doing. Or if you want to study with me, that's cool as well.
Fantastic. That's great.
On my film scoring program.
Yeah, that's great. So the bottom 40, for those of you who don't know about that project, I'm especially proud of that too. I've been able to be a part of it. Mike, where can people go just to get a taste of the first bottom?
It's on Spotify and Amazon, or whatever.
Cool. Yeah, y'all check that out. It's incredible stuff. Yeah. Mike, man, thank you so much for doing this. Man. So cool to talk to you and dig into some of these some of these topics. I know it'll be a blessing to people. And
Thank you. Where does this come out?
This is going to
put it on social.
Yeah, this will be on my YouTube channel,
cool.
youtube.com Adam Mitty Music. And so after it gets edited, I'll be posting that, and I'll of course make social media announcements for that as well. And then you can, please share that. But
I will.
But yeah, man, this
thanks
series,
for having me, man.
Man, my pleasure.
You are a longtime favorite bass player on the planet. I use Adam for so much stuff that I do. So I appreciate you, man.
So it's just an honor to even be considered by you. I mean that, not just because you're my friend, but thank you. And y'all look for more from both of us in the near future. And Mike, looking forward to seeing you in person. I'm gonna run by and bring you some CDs.
Nice. All right.
Cool. All right, man. God bless you and your family. God bless everybody out there. Thanks so much for tuning in. We will see you on the next one.